Hello and welcome. I'm trying to get my lighting right here. Hello and welcome. Hold on 1 second. I want to get my scarf, my beautiful scarf. So, welcome. If you're here, I'll invite us to take a breath together. So, taking a nice inhale and exhale. And if you'd like, you can take another one here, dropping into the space. I'm so excited for today because I get to discuss some feminine principles, and this is very exciting. I enjoy this a lot, thinking about and talking about the feminine aspects. This is something that I did not get growing up, so I'm excited to share some things that I've learned. So settle on in, come into the room. Okay. And before we get started today, I actually want to pull a card. I'm feeling drawn to pulling a card today. And maybe this is something that might help us or help me kind of discuss this topic today, or anything that needs to come up. The Lovers, interesting. So this is connected to love and the feminine and the masculine. So interesting that that is coming up. And actually, when I first did my Embody Your Goddess kind of course session, I talked about the transformation of the course, and I talked about three aspects of transformation. And that was kind of like the um, physical, mental, and emotional aspects. And that was kind of a more masculine kind of principles that drive the course and its success. And so I kind of wanted to balance that out with the balance card here of the masculine and the feminine with some feminine principles so you can understand both of these things. And this is just great for women to understand in general. So if you are a woman and you are here, I'm so excited to share this with you today. And I am Trinity Wave, if you don't know me. And I love Trinity symbols, as you can imagine. And today I want to talk about the feminine Trinity symbol. So this is like, you could think of like a flower with three petals, and the first two upper petals are almost in like a V, like a wide V. And then the third petal, the lower petal, is like, pointing directly down. And talking about three aspects today. So what I'm going to talk about today is desire, allowing, and receiving. So desire and allowing are those two upper petals, and then receiving is the lower petal. And I'll go into more in depth about this kind of connection of why it's placed here in these sort of places. But first, I want to jump right into the first principle of this talk today, which is desire. And if you've heard one of my recent live streams, then you might have heard me talk a little bit about desire and how in our society it's kind of been portrayed as a more like in connection to sexuality. And of course, that is an aspect of desire. And that is why there are so many people on our planet. But I guess I also want to talk about how I believe that we are all divine light consciousness in material form here on this plane, existing together. And part of desire is just this connection of wanting to express oneself, wanting to explore, and just be in our divine light and express and create in our divine light. And so desire is not a bad thing. And I want to talk more about this. I got really mixed messages when I was young about desire, and it it kind of made me feel like my desires weren't spiritual enough, or they were superficial, and this brought a lot of like shame and guilt to me when I was young, and it just created this really convoluted connection to desire, which is kind of sad, but um, what I really want to talk about is that so we don't need to reject all of our desires. We don't They're not bad, and you're not selfish for having desire. Um, and I mean, if we're gonna get into like gray areas of desire, I mean, personally, I don't think that desires of like hurting other people or hurting children is appropriate. I think that if someone was having a desire like that, it probably comes from like a wounded place, and that would need healing. That's just my opinion of that. Um, and so I think that if you're not having those kinds of desires, then most desires are kind of from a place of it's natural, and it's just, we don't need to suppress it or deny it, and that's not really helping the situation. um, I'm not saying that you have to act on all your desires immediately, obviously, but um, I guess one thing I want to talk about is how is a certain way of why I think desire is important, and this is like we wouldn't we wouldn't create a goal if there wasn't a desire behind it. Um, no one would create a goal if there was not a desire behind it. I don't think so, at least. And it's almost like this mop I have where there's like three parts to this mop, okay? There's like the stick part of it, there's the mop head, and then there's like a plastic piece that connects them. And if you don't have that plastic piece, it's a small piece, but if you don't have that, the thing doesn't work together. You're just going to have a stick and a mop head, and it's not going to function as a mop. It's not going to function for what you want it to do. So, this is like the desire with the goals, right? Like, you can have goals, and you can have like all these ways to accomplish your goals, but if you don't have that like little plastic piece, you don't have the desire that goes behind it, I don't think really any of it's going to work. That's just my opinion, okay? So I don't think that we need to vilify desire or um, say that it's wrong. I think that if we're suffocating all of our desires, then there's just no joy left in life. And my question to people is like, why would we want to live in a society where there's no joy? I don't want to live in that society. I love joy. I welcome joy each day. I laugh each day. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's possible to become aware of one's own desires and be open to honoring desires in healthy ways, and not be so separate from these parts of ourselves that just want to be loved and nurtured and explored. So it's almost like bringing curiosity into to what's going on within us when certain things are showing up as our desires, instead of just being like, oh no, we don't have that thing in place right now to support this, so get it out of here. That's kind of like how I feel like society has kind of made it seem to us. So, and this is something that I'm working on too. So if you're working on this, then you're not alone. You're in good company. So, what do you think about this metaphor for desire with the mop? Please comment and tell me what you think. And if you have a better metaphor for this, I'm open to hearing. So, please share. I'm just going to take a drink here. Before moving on to our second petal of this beautiful Trinity flower, which is allowing. And this is like, this can go into a lot of things, but if one of my goals is to have financial wealth, then I first need to allow myself to be open to having financial wealth. I can give myself permission to have wealth. And this could go into a variety of things that one wants to cultivate in life, like feeling confident in the body or having wealth. So, for an instance, if you're a woman that wants to feel more confident in your body, allowing oneself to get into the mindset of feeling more confident in your body. And this could be something like allowing yourself to look at clothes that you want to wear. This could be even just saying affirmations to yourself like, I am confident in my body. Or I feel good in the clothing that I wear. She can also allow herself to, if a woman wants to feel more confident in the body, she can allow herself to look at healthy recipes, things that she would feel more confident in eating and feeling good in her body. Or saying something like, I nourish myself with healthy foods and drinks. So this just goes back to getting in the mindset of allowing oneself to connect to certain desires. So in this way, allowing is like opening a door, right? So if, for say, that you wanted to enjoy a bed in your new home, well, a great first step would be to open the front door. So allowing is like being able to open a door, opening up the door to what you desire. And this can also go into allowing oneself to feel emotions. If you've listened to some of my other live streams recently, you might have heard me talk about this. In my past, I was a child that was very repressed, and I barely talked about my emotions if I could at all. And this was from a lot of trauma, but now, luckily, I can get into a space where many times I can understand what emotion is going on within me and be able to feel that emotion, and from there go on to find more compassion for myself. And this is this is like, once again, returning to the awareness that like one is a divine like consciousness and form, and emotions are like the messengers. They're like showing what is happening, how the divine light, the being, is being affected by what's going on. And so this is like when becoming aware of emotions instead of just like denying it or suppressing it, um, you know, being open to feeling it. So allowing is like being open to feeling it. Um, I'm not saying that, you have to do this for every single emotion, or you even need to do it at all. But I'm just telling you about things that have helped me, and rather than just denying it or suppressing it, I can allow myself to feel it and be able to move through it with more ease, grace, and awareness to be able to learn from this experience rather than just, shutting down completely. And this was very hard for me to learn because I had been programmed by members of my family to tell me that I was rewarded for being tough, and I internalized that as not showing emotion. So I really had to work hard to to allow myself to be okay to have emotions in the first place, and that's a really important step to be able to process and understand and be able to communicate emotions in healthy ways. And if this is something that you're just starting as well, of this journey of like becoming aware and working with your emotions, one thing I suggest is journaling as a practice. And I have a whole live stream about journaling with in my healing emotional eating live stream. So if you're interested in that topic and want to learn more about journaling, feel free to watch that live stream as well. Um, and I want to get into the last aspect of this flower and just talk about a few other things. Um, so the last one is receiving. So let me take a little drink here. So after the allowing and the desiring aspect of these feminine principles, one can be open into a space of receiving. One can be open to receiving. And I have a few affirmations here, and feel free to listen to these. And if you'd like to, you can repeat them. You don't have to. It's just a suggestion. See if these work for you. But the first one is, I am open to receiving what I desire. I am open to receiving what I desire. So maybe just notice how that feels. And I have another one here. So this one is, I am worthy of receiving all that helps me thrive. I am worthy of receiving all that helps me thrive. And as you can imagine, receiving is more obvious of a feminine principle. And for me, this connection to the Trinity flower is also connected to the kind of female reproductive system, where it's kind of the two ovaries are on the top, and then there's the where's the camera here? There's like two ovaries on top, and then there's the receiving part here at the bottom. And so there's like the eggs at the top, and when one of the eggs is fertilized, then it kind of drops down into the bottom. And as we all know, the women have wombs and can carry children and give birth. And this is how the species is recreated in humanity. So this goes back. So this is why it's kind of obvious that receiving is a feminine principle, right? Because they're in the receiving aspect here of this. And I want to go into a few kind of a receptivity things that can help one be open to more receptivity in life and kind of connect to the aspect of receiving. And I want to do a little visualization later, but let me just take a drink here. There is an elegance coach that I love. Her name is Ariel Zena, and she was talking about some of these topics recently. And I think it's just so apt to talking about the female principles, so the feminine principles. So I kind of want to mention a few of these and, do this little visualization that I've created. So let's jump right in. So the first one is about receiving compliments. So being open to receiving compliments instead of, you know, just saying, being open instead of just saying, oh, no, no, thank you. Or, oh, this old thing. Hmm, You know, if someone is honoring us, if someone is respecting, it's being grateful for that. And this is not to say that one has to just accept what one is given, and we'll talk about that in the next one too. But so this goes into receiving gifts, and it's if you have something that like is really needed or wanted in your life, being open to receiving that. And this goes into, not being, you don't have to just take whatever someone is giving you. Um, but being open to what you want and need is wonderful. And the last little part of this, before we get into the visualization, is the listening aspect. So this is really great when you're having a conversation with someone, if you're being in the receptive mode, you're actively listening to what they're saying. And this is nice. So instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, you're like, when you're not like tuning them out, just being like, okay, I have to say this thing, um, and or interrupting them. And this is one of those other things that it's like, these are art forms, so and they're practices. So if this is not something that you've worked on before, then don't expect it to just come overnight. These things, they can take practice to become better at, like a lot of things. And so now I just want to get into a little visualization here. So if you can find a comfortable seat, and if you can close down the eyes, feel free to do that. And just begin to take some deeper inhales and exhales through the nose. So if you can, begin to imagine when you received a gift that you really loved. How did it feel to receive this gift? Can you imagine holding this gift in your hands? Where do you feel this feeling in the body? Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your core? Do you feel it in your womb? And how does this feel? Does it feel expansive? Does it feel bubbly? Can you name it? And now can you allow this feeling to expand and begin to overflow? If this feeling is in your heart, can you allow it to move up into your throat? If this feeling, can you now allow it to move down into your core, into your womb? Can you allow this feeling to move into your arms and your hands? Can you allow this feeling to move down into your legs, into your feet? Can you allow this feeling to move up towards the top of the head? So, how does this feeling feel in your entire body? How do you feel? If you could name this feeling, and gently beginning to rub the fingers together or wiggle the toes softly, coming back, maybe opening your eyes. So I'd love to know how this was for you. So please just comment in the chat or the comments and let me know. And I personally feel that this kind of openness to feel the receiving aspect is something that we haven't, society doesn't really, hasn't really shared a lot of in life. And I personally think it feels so good to receive fully in this way. And I think as women, we deserve to feel like our beautiful goddess selves and be open to receiving, be open to the overflow of love and abundance. And when we're in this space, we can more easily share this kind of energy with others. And I think it just feels so good. So I want to shift gears for a moment here. And so thinking about creating more harmony in life, just because a person is open to receive, again, doesn't mean that they have to just take whatever someone is giving them. And this is where boundaries can be really appropriate for us, or women, people. We're all people, unless you're a cat. And I love cats. And cats are very good about stating their boundaries, actually. They show you pretty quickly where their boundary is. You'll know. If you have a cat, you already know. um, so knowing yourself, knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you, is really helpful. And you can think about this with partners. I'm going to show the card again. Can you see it? So knowing what traits work for you in a partner and what traits don't work for you in a partner is really helpful. And most women want a partner that is respectful and someone that has respectful words and actions to us or you. um, and so if there's things coming up for you, say for instance you started dating and you were going on dates and trying to figure out if you like this person or not, trying to figure out if you're going to work well together or not. um, and some things are coming up that are like kind of like overstepping your boundaries. Just letting a person know, stating very directly, what doesn't work for you or what's not appropriate for you. And, you don't have to be rude to the person. Um, and obviously, there are different scenarios and things where a woman may need to be more firm. And if you've watched my recent Embody Your Goddess tips, I talked about pineapples and how they're also great at having those boundaries. So if you're interested in that, you can check that live stream out too. Um, so that was about boundaries. And I have one more little aspect here that I want to talk about before doing a closing today, or doing a little recap of what I talked about today. So this is going back to the desire and, being open to allowing and receiving things that one is trying to call in life. And this is about attachment to desire or desired outcomes. And so one way that I'm going to explain this, well, I'm going to explain it in two ways actually. But the first way is like, okay, so thinking about like a rope, and how if you tie a rope around something very tightly, it's going to contract the thing that you're tying it around tightly, if it's like a soft thing. And the energy inside whatever you're tying it around is not going to flow very easily. So it's going to be contracted. And the other way I have to explain this is, and this just goes into, why we don't want to have too much attachment to the desire, and why that can be, how we can, we'll see. I think I'm getting there. Okay, let's just keep going. Okay, so the next example I have here is that if you ever watched the old school Star Wars movies, you might remember like the old school Darth Vader, and how he was, he was the villain of the story, and he would like, there was this scene where he was giving like a death grip to someone. It was like a telekinetic kind of like choking someone. And that's not how we want to be with our desires and attachments to outcomes. Okay, we want the universal energy to flow through easily, so that we don't have this like Darth Vader death grip on the thing and it can't flow freely. And if we can allow it to flow freely, then we don't feel like the Darth Vader villain in this scenario. Okay, so we're allowing ourselves to be free too. I hope you've seen Star Wars to understand what I'm talking about, and if not, I hope you get it. So please comment if you understood that Darth Vader analogy. I'm like a little bit of I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, so recap about what we talked about the feminine principles. And so the first one is about desire. The second one is about allowing. And the third one is receiving. So desire is an important aspect. It's why we create goals in the first place. And desire is like that little plastic piece in the mop that holds the thing together. So it's kind of important. And then there's allowing. And allowing is like opening a door. So remembering that if we want to enjoy the bed in our new home, we can open that front door. And the last part is about receiving. And I have a few affirmations here. I am open to receiving what I desire. I am worthy of receiving all I need to thrive. We also talked about some boundaries today and just stating those boundaries clearly if possible. And the last thing we talked about today was just being able to release the grip of attachment to our desires and desired outcomes, to allow universal energy to flow and allow us to feel free in the process. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this talk about feminine principles today. And of course, I do want to mention that I do have an Embody Your Goddess course, which is a 12-week online course for women that is a transformational course to help women transform in body, mind, and spirit to connect to the goddess within. And I do this through a variety of videos. So each week, goddess clients have access to weekly belly dance, meditation, yoga videos, as well as affirmations and weekly goddess rituals. And they have access to a weekly goddess circle with other women to help heal and grow together. So I love this course, and the next course coming up is in March. So if you are interested in that course, I would love it if you could go over to my website and fill out an application for that course. And my website is trinitywavedesigns.com. That's Trinity, Trinity, wave, WAVE, and designs, DESIGNS.com, Trinity Wave Designs. And I do have a link to that in the description below. And just sending you so much love and so much light today. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope that you have a beautiful day and connecting more to your feminine principles as the day goes on. So sending you so much love and light. Namaste. Bye.